Hola, my name is Yolanda Rodriguez Palacios de Sanchez, better known as Yolanda Sanchez. And this is exciting to be here today telling you a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, but have very strong ties to Round Rock. I remember at the age of 2 or 3 years old knowing about this city called Round Rock. So I was very intrigued by that. And I remember my first trip to Round Rock. I must have been about 4, somewhere in that age. And I was really impressed. It was a small little town. And it was very quiet. And I'm coming from a big city, so it was really kind of like a very shock to me. But it was very peaceful, and that I liked. And of course, we had a lot of relatives here. And it was something really neat to know, okay, yay, we got, one of the things is I would say, oh, yes, I have relatives. And we would not say in the United States, we would say en el otro lado, on the other side. But it meant in the United States. So we would also come and visit Round Rock at least twice a year. My uncles had already been living here since the very early 1900s. There was the Amado Rubio, and then he had all his children. And then in the 1950s, my aunt moved to Round Rock, so that's where we come and visit. And it was really pretty neat the way everything was, because one of the things that I noticed was that there were a lot of people that were Mexican-American people, Tejanos as we call them, and a few people that were actually from Mexico. And it was really awesome to get to know the people. But what was really something thing about parents, that I have a mom that was very, I've been taking dancing since, actually I started dancing when I was 3 years old. So the first time that, we came over here and we would see our relatives, how moms are, they have to show off the children. And it was like, oh, you have to dance for your tios and tias. And it's like, Mom, but we don't have no music. Oh, no problem. Le talareamos, meaning she would sit there and you go, la, 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 and try to follow the song. So he goes, Yolanda. Of course, I did not miss an opportunity to dance. I love dancing. So Round Rock, the people from Round Rock knew of my love for the dance back then. We were talking about very early 1950s when I first visited. And as the story goes, my father, actually, thanks to Father, and I'm talking about that priest, Frederick Smith, from St. William's Catholic Church, they met. And the priest offered my father a job in St. William's Catholic Church, and my father took it. And it was really neat. My father had already retired and had in Mexico was running a grocery store, a little grocery store, convenience store per United States standards, a convenience store. But he was the love for the church is amazing for him. It was more than ours, definitely, to be honest. And he really jumped at the chance, and he moved first. They got the papers fixed, etc. And that was in 1962. And so the following year, then we came over. It took us a year to fix all the papers. And one of the things that the priest had already, of course, met my family, and they knew us, and the people knew about I mean, at that time around, like everybody was related to one another in some way or the other, not necessarily by blood, but by marriage. So because it was a very small town, you're gonna go how small of a town? It was such a small town that if something happened at the high school, your parents will know by the time you got home. And guess what? We didn't have no telephones. Okay, so that's how small it was. So when we actually moved here, people already knew about the heritage itself that I was coming from because I was real proud to be a Mexicana, and I was excited to be in the United States. To me, it was like a double whammy because now I was have beautiful culture, but I was learning all these new things in the United States. And one of the benefits I remember, one of my first comments was telling my mom, "Mom, we cannot forget our culture, but we had to adapt very quickly to the one in the United States. So that means that we have to celebrate Christmas here, and we have to celebrate el día 6 de enero, which is the for the three wise men. It meant that I was going to get presents in December the 24th, which normally we do not, or the 25th, and also on January the 6th. So that's how I played as I was growing up. So I felt like it was very positive to have two cultures. Well, one of the things is that people already knew that I knew how to dance, and with my parents being very active in that church, especially my father, because he worked there, we always been a family in a community in Round Rock itself to always help each other out or help the church or to help our community. And one of the ways that I saw that I could do a little bit of help alongside with my brothers was to have little plays, a play or a little show during the Jamaicas. What is a Jamaica? A Jamaica was a church festival. That's what we called it back then, Jamaicas. So when we had the church festival, we would get a church hall and we would charge the people to come in and see us perform. I would dance, Mexican folk dancing, and my brothers will play. They formed a little band, and it was really neat because I was telling my brothers who were growing up, they were quite ahead of everything else because when they besides the playing, they would act what the song was about. And there was a song that always cracked me up because yes, they would do it in Spanish, and it was "Llegó borracho, borracho," and it's talking about a guy that was drinking, and we would have somebody stumble all over the place. So it was really fun, but yet we were going, okay, this is not cool to do that, but we would make the people laugh. They would see the beautiful dances. So here I am dancing, and I would get my cousin or my little friend to come and dance with me. I'd teach them some of the dances, and we would raise a little bit of money for the church, and all that money went to the church. So it was pretty cool. And that was started, actually, I was 14 years old when I came to the United States to actually live in the United States, which was very exciting time in my life. And I was kind of worried about one thing because then following year, I was going to be 15 years old, and I knew that quinceañeras were not celebrated here. So I was kind of worried about that, but that was okay. So as we came in 1963, one of the things that my father did during that year was that we always celebrated in the Catholic Church December the 12th, el Día de la Virgen de Guadalupe. And of course, my father was used to, in Mexico, doing something big for the church. Okay, and my father was always used to, big things for the church during December the 12th. And so the priest and my father had been talking about it, and something happened that was really exciting, that year they were able to work in bringing in what we call matachines, Indian dancers, that would not perform, that's the incorrect word, the dance for the Virgen, because you dance for her, you become a matachin, and then the dancer when you ask for the Virgen de Guadalupe to do, to look out for your family or to thank her for all the blessings that she has given you. So that's how you become a matachin. And it was really neat to see that, and now I look back on it, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now because, again, I didn't realize the importance, but to have a group of matachines, and it was 33 to 34 dancers coming in from Monterrey, Nuevo León, Mexico, to come in and do a procession all the way from Round Rock, downtown Round Rock, which downtown was not very big, believe me, to all the way to St. William's Catholic Church, was with the original one, which was by McNeil Road. And to have them come and do the procession, and of course alongside with them dancing, there was the drums and the violin, and of course the fireworks. It is customary as the procession's coming in, they have someone at the very front that is lights up fireworks to let the people announce that there's this procession coming through. Well, again, this was back in the 60s, and I realize now that that was not really looked at it very good to do something like this. And I really got to give credit to Father Smith and my father for getting this done. So that, and then they kind of, oh, okay. And it was beautiful to be able to see that they started appreciating all cultures. And to me, there's one thing that I've always looked at people as people. I don't care who you're purple, pink, orange, blue. I don't, you're a person. And I love history. I love cultures. And to me, dancing has always been a part of my life that brings all the world together, everybody together. So, but now looking back again, during the 60s, there was not, I guess, the right thing to do. So I'm really proud of my father by doing that. So, and as they had participated also on that year, and so did my brothers, because we did not know not to, how can I say it? We did not realize that that it really was not cool to participate in so many things, especially in the arts. And sometimes we segregate our own selves because, okay, no, well, I cannot do it. And you're telling yourself you cannot do it when you should be able to get up and do that if you want to do it. And so there was a talent show. And of course, the word talent, we heard it, we were in. My brothers definitely said, okay, we finished getting the band together, we're going to play. And I'm going, okay, if you guys are going to play, I'm going to do my Mexican folk dancing. And the end, the rest of the people looked at us and you're going to do what? Okay. So it was really neat to say that in the 63, our students from Ramba High School were exposed to this. And it was wonderful because it was the first time that a Mexican-American person or a Mexican person had actually participated in this. I didn't see it like much of a big deal. I thought it was awesome. We're going to play up there and we're going to dance. That's all that mattered to me. So, and we did that from there on every year till we graduated. And then the following year comes, of course, my quinceañera. What is a quinceañera? Well, a quinceañera is it's the combination of social and religious together, with the religious being on top of the social, okay? Because it is a time to thank the Lord for giving you this 15 years, all this beautiful upbringing. And so you thank Him, but also you thank the community, because we believe that a person is not raised just by a father or mother. It's the whole community coming in together. So that has always been my outlook. So I figure that you can see it is part of who I am, who I believe. And I remember working very hard for that because my parents looked at me and said, okay, money-wise, we won't have that much money, so you're going to have to help us. I said, okay, no problem. I can go do what? Pick cotton. So my first year here in the United States, as soon as the weather started getting time to go and pick cotton, Yolanda was out there picking all the cotton. All I kept on thinking as I was dragging the big bag, okay, this is for all the stuff that I'm going to need for my quinceañera. And it's like, okay, so I got to go and thank the Lord and have a big party as well. And just, bring everybody together and do the first waltz with my father and with my damas and chamelanes, with the court of honor. And so it was a big deal to me, but still people didn't quite understand what a quinceañera was. And it was at that time that they told me that they never had a quinceañera in Round Rock. So I remember Olivia Castillo definitely, as I was telling her about it, she goes, oh, I want to be a madrina. A madrina is a person that will help you with some of the expenses. And I don't, to be honest, recollect the whole, but she did help us, gave some money for the event, for my party as well. And we had it in San Williams, and I understand I was the first one to have the quinceañera. And so as the years go by, of course, I graduated in 1966 from Round Rock High School, and still dance every year. So it was really neat that Frontiers Day came about, the first time for Frontiers Day. And I remember our teacher, Miss Nelson, that she told me that there was going to be a big event, which she told the whole students. And we wanted to help out. And of course, I thought to myself that what I can do Mexican folk dancing, And but it was really neat to be able to see the beautiful event, first time ever done in Round Rock. And it was so neat that I remember she was so excited. She says, and we are going to invite the President of the United States. Whether he comes or not, we don't know, but we're going to invite him. Never showed up, of course. But I danced right on the corner of the Reed's Cleaners, right downtown. And so I have been dancing there for, at least 3 years in the 60s, or 2 years in the 60s, and then I moved away. I went ahead and moved to Tampa, Florida for 1 year. We came back and decided, okay, actually, I came back and got married, and we moved to Houston, and then came back to Round Rock after being married, moving to Houston. At that time, I was a school bus driver. I was being very proud of being a school bus driver because prior to that, I had worked for the telephone company. It did not give me enough time to be with my family. So decided that being a school bus driver is going to allow me to do that. And I'm very excited that I did because he gave me my connection with the young people. He gave me the time to be with my family. And so when I moved back to Round Rock in 1984 with my 4-year-old daughter and my husband and my son, at the time he was going to start 9th grade. So I became a bus driver and in Round Rock. So I noticed as I'm driving the school bus, I would have the students coming in, and of course I would greet them. And the ones, of course, that I wanted always to know everybody's name. And I noticed that with the Mexican Americans, or they want to call them Hispanics, they would say the names such as Rodriguez, Salazar, Carlin, etc. And I would look at them and I'm going, your name is, and I would repeat it, to them in the proper way. And they looked at me like, lady, you're crazy. But I would look, hey, this is who you are. Be proud of who you are. And once I start seeing that, it's like, okay, proud of who we are. And I'm going, guys, it is awesome that you have two cultures. You live in the United States. That is amazing. Be proud of that. Besides, when I'm telling you, everybody comes in together. And they looked at me and say, what do you mean everybody comes together? I said, in dancing. And that's how they started realizing that I used to dance. Well, by that time, the priest in Round Rock heard about that I used to dance and goes, okay, could you maybe put one dance together? So I said, okay, just one dance. And he says, yes, one dance. And I thought, okay, this gives me a good opportunity to show these young people to be proud of who they are. And this is amazing for everybody, to let everybody, I keep on repeating myself, bringing everybody in together through dancing, through the history of dancing. And I just jumped at the opportunity. I said, okay, I'll do that. And I just had two students, and one of them was a priest, and the other one was my son, and then I got a lady to start. And all of a sudden, I had three couples. I'm going, all right. And it wasn't all of a sudden, as we were practicing, people saw what I was doing, and they would ask me, "What can we join in?" I said, "Sure, anybody can." And of course, in the back of my mind, I'm going, "Okay, how am I going to do this?" Because I'm really terrible. By that I mean, when I do the Mexican folk dancing, I have to. It's very important to me that we do it as sacred as possible, as how it was done, and the traditional costumes. And I was trying to figure out how in the world am I going to get costumes. There was no money. I didn't have no money to go and buy all of this. So it's like, okay, come on in, I'll figure it out somehow as far as costumes. Well, I was very blessed, and I had not sewn before, but it's amazing when you need to do something, you quickly learn. So picked up a sewing machine, learned how to sew, and I had a couple of ladies that would help me sew, and we came out with our first costumes. And I tried to be as authentic as possible without spending too much money because we did not have it. And that's how, actually, in Brown Rock, Ballet Folklorico started without even having an intention of getting a group together, let's do this to prove anybody something. No, it was something, again, for our community. It's something that the young people needed. How do I know that I needed, that they needed this? Well, they actually told me, because it would say, okay, well, tell us more about this. Why are you, you're so happy who you are. I'm going, why not? Look at yourself. And of course, look at everybody's positive things, their own person. And I was able to get the message across to them. And they felt good about themselves. And like I tell them, you don't need drugs, you don't need alcohol. The minute you're on that floor and you get the people watching you, that is the most beautiful feeling that you can have. And as a matter of fact, I had one student that the first time he was perform, he goes, "Oh man, I get a look at y'all." And I looked at him, I said, "Well, hey, I got your attention, didn't I?" And he goes, "Yes, but Miss," and he was a Mexican American. He says, "Why are you doing this?" And I told him, and I sat down, and I told him, I said, because I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud that, guess what? When I was doing this polka, I wasn't only talking about Mexico. I was talking about Germany, Czechoslovakia, Poland. Because what does that got to do with it? Guess what? Guess what? When people move to what's now Mexico, guess what? They actually passed right here through Round Rock. And some of that culture stayed behind and continue on to what's now Mexico. So when you dance in these beautiful polkas, we need to thank all these wonderful people that came in from all over the world, and they shared their culture with us. And so he was very intrigued. It's like, oh, so that's how it's done. So throughout the years, I've seen so many young people just I look back and they were little and they were 3, 4, 5 years old, and now they're adults, and they're still dancing. And one thing is, one actually figure out, okay, we need to do this the correct way. And in 1988, it actually, Ballet Folklorico became a nonprofit organization. And we've been around throughout all these years. It has, again, worked. It's not a one person, it's not about Yolanda. It's about our community coming in together, the students, the parents. It's like a big puzzle, and everybody just helps each other out. And the finished product is when these children or young adults or adults perform out there, and the message that they get across to the other young children in the audience, and also the audience themselves. Because once you realize that, hey, in the arts, in the dancing, in the music, it's not about all this different segregation thing. No, we all come in together the way it was meant to be. And it is about bringing everybody and the beliefs. Like I tell them, one of the big things is that I tell them, of all the different cultures, the one that I'm just thrilled about is the African culture. Because without the African culture, we would not have our merengues, our salsas. We would not have all the beautiful dances that we do have. And like I tell them, how many have, here going to the dance, especially the Mexican Americans, or even nowadays, because you see nowadays young people dancing anytime that you have the Latin music, again, the salsas, they start dancing, and they don't necessarily are Mexican American or Mexican people or Hispanic. Again, it's from everybody. And guess what? Because of the influence from Africa, they're the ones that brought a beautiful, beautiful culture. I really look at the audience now, especially the one from Round Rock, and I can see. I'm not going to use the word acceptance because not it. It's a word how they're understanding. They're more in tune with one another because of the. And I go back to the arts. If it had not been for the arts, and to the arts, of course, comes the dancing. So.